Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're putting on our international relations hats to decode a massive, completely silent shadow war that is literally redefining the Middle East and East Africa. While the world gets distracted by loud, isolated diplomatic incidents like a sudden border arrest or a maritime interception, what's actually happening is a highly calculated, high-stakes geopolitical chess match right beneath our noses. Drawing directly from our source materials, we're going to map out exactly how Egypt, Israel, and Ethiopia are completely reshaping regional power.
So you might be wondering, how do we get from a canceled vacation in the Sinai to a direct threat against the survival of an entire nation? Well, it's pretty easy to brush off a single deportation or a maritime interception as just standard security protocol. But when you apply a strategic lens, these events reveal themselves as highly calculated symptoms of a much deeper existential struggle. To really understand this, we've got to look past that surface-level friction. Let's look at two highly unusual, almost simultaneous clashes that basically scream that traditional diplomacy is breaking down. First up, a major escalation in the Mediterranean. Former Egyptian ambassador Mohammed Aliyah was intercepted during a solidarity flotilla. Stopping a sovereign emissary in international waters, that is a massive red line in the ruthless world of intelligence. Almost at the exact same time, down in the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt abruptly deported an Israeli tourist named Ohad, completely canceling his trip at the border. Two seemingly random events, but they are inextricably linked by timing and intense regional pressure.
Now, Ohad wasn't just your average backpacker. He had previously served as a military officer in Israel, and Egyptian security deported him because of a resurfaced video where he's actually instructing Egyptian children near the pyramids to chant 1, 2, 3 Israel. To Egyptian intelligence, this wasn't some harmless travel vlog. No way. It was perceived as a deliberate psychological influence operation right on their own soil. It just goes to show the intense, paranoid reality of the cold intelligence war currently gripping the Sinai Peninsula. Every single interaction is scrutinized. And on the flip side, intercepting an envoy like Aliyah wasn't an accident either. It was a severe warning shot fired right across Cairo's bow. When Aliyah publicly stated that Israeli forces kidnapped him from international waters, the political symbolism was just impossible to ignore. Detaining a former diplomat is a direct, unmistakable message to Cairo. The rules of engagement between Cairo and Tel Aviv are being brutally and immediately rewritten, shifting from fragile cooperation to blatant strategic intimidation. Okay, so what we're actually witnessing here is a classic shadow war. This isn't fought with tanks or televised declarations. It's a cold intelligence conflict, fought using indirect economic leverage, psychological operations, and strategic positioning to force an opponent's hand. We, the public, usually only see the tip of the iceberg, the border scuffles and the naval interceptions. But the true, ferocious battle for long-term strategic dominance is happening entirely out of sight.
To truly grasp the massive base of this geopolitical iceberg, we have to look away from the borders and stare straight at the flow of the Nile itself. Those incidents we just covered, just sparks. The actual powder keg here is water. Consider this for a second. Egypt relies on the Nile for roughly 97% of its freshwater. 97%. When you realize that single statistic, it becomes glaringly obvious why threatening that flow is the absolute ultimate pressure point. So, how do you pressure a regional heavyweight like Egypt without firing a single bullet? You go directly to the source of their lifeblood.
Deep in East Africa sits the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. This is a megastructure capable of holding a staggering 74 billion cubic meters of water. Israel views this dam not just as concrete infrastructure, but as a historic opportunity to shift the balance of power. According to the strategic studies we're analyzing, Israel has been quietly but aggressively building political, security, and economic influence deep within Africa, especially in Ethiopia. They reportedly see this megadam as a chance to turn the Nile, the historic source of Egyptian strength, into a massive strategic vulnerability. It's the ultimate weaponization of resource dependency.
Actually, think of it like this. If you have a direct competitor and you want to suffocate them without getting into a direct fight, you just quietly buy up all the properties surrounding their house. You control their access roads, their power lines, their water supply. That is exactly what geopolitical analysts call a policy of encirclement. By embedding themselves deeply within the vital Nile basin, Israel allegedly seeks to create a constant, suffocating pressure on Egypt, significantly reducing Cairo's diplomatic and military maneuvering room. And this encirclement isn't just diplomatic, it is highly technical. Israeli technological companies are on the ground in Ethiopia, making themselves completely indispensable to the region's infrastructure. We aren't just talking about handshakes here. Israeli experts and companies are physically present. They're deploying experts, investing in dam infrastructure, integrating cutting-edge precision agriculture, and developing Ethiopian energy tech. By weaving themselves so deeply into the fabric of Ethiopia's water and energy management, they become a permanent, influential fixture. Israel understands a fundamental geopolitical truth. Any pressure on Egypt's water security instantly translates to internal political and economic instability. Boom, all at once. By holding the keys to the basin's water management technology, Israel secures a formidable, indirect bargaining chip over Cairo. It is a brilliant yet totally formidable way to utilize technological dominance as a geopolitical weapon in a shadow war. Indirect control of water technology equals direct leverage over an adversary's economic stability.
But listen, Egypt is fully aware of this encirclement strategy. They possess an intelligence network forged over decades for exactly this type of shadowy, long-game operation. They are absolutely not a nation that can be easily cornered. So, what happens when a state's vital water supply is threatened by a geopolitical rival? Well, they draw a line in the sand, or in this case, a very, very thick red line.
In an unusually icy diplomatic maneuver, Egypt's foreign minister warned that Cairo's commitment to the historic peace treaty depends entirely on Israel respecting Egyptian national security. That is monumental. The Egypt-Israel peace treaty has been the absolute cornerstone of stability in the Middle East for over 4 decades. For Egypt to publicly link their adherence to this treaty to Israel's actions regarding water, that's a massive escalation. It's Cairo directly stating that the bedrock of regional peace is now strictly conditional. So we are essentially looking at a perfectly balanced, incredibly tense regional chessboard right now. On one side, Israel's primary tool is leveraging its tech investments in the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, using Nile Basin intrusions to pressure Egypt's water security. But Egypt is countering this asymmetric threat by flexing its own immense strategic muscles. Cairo is utilizing deep-rooted East African alliances and projecting formidable naval dominance across the Red Sea to protect its flanks. They are matching Israel's technological encirclement with their own geographic and military encirclement, holding the conditions of the peace treaty itself as their ultimate pressure point. When you step back, the whole picture just snaps into focus. The deportation in Sinai, the naval interception in the Mediterranean, the tech companies in Ethiopia, it is all one cohesive battlefield and a long war of attrition. Today, everything is militarized. Border crossings, international shipping lanes, and yes, even the water of the Nile itself have all become weaponized strategic tools. And in a region that controls a massive percentage of global trade through the Red Sea and Suez Canal, this shadow war impacts supply chains and international security for every single one of us. The next time you pour yourself a simple glass of water, think about the profound stakes of this hidden conflict. We are witnessing a complex Cold War of intelligence, where shadow diplomacy, cutting-edge technology, and a river are the ultimate weapons. It truly makes you reconsider what power looks like in the 21st century. So considering the immense leverage, the deep red lines, and the quiet tech investments we've explored today, who do you think will ultimately win this shadow war and control the region's geopolitical survival? Keep your eyes peeled, because the waters are only getting rougher. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.